Greetings, Charles McCall with Mentoring Growing Leaders, and we're on lesson number 7 in Leadership 101. This is a two-part lesson, lesson number 7 and lesson number 8. I'm going to be sharing with you 15 keys to manage your time. Now, I want to say right from the get-go, there are many different excellent time management systems, and what I'm just sharing with you really is what I do in my life, as I studied a lot of different ones, and some areas of my life when it comes to time management I do really well, some I do mediocre, some I don't do so well. And you know what, I have a feeling you're going to be the same kind of person. I have a feeling that there's going to be very few of us that are just going to use our time so excellently and so wisely and so efficiently, we're just going to soar. But I do have the reputation of being efficient with time. I do have the reputation of producing fruit and making the most of the opportunity. And so I've discovered some keys, 15 of them at least, that have helped me over the years to try to be effective in the use of my time. And part of this starts off actually with a mindset. It's a way of living, it's a lifestyle, and it's a way of thinking about life. And I'm speaking to you, and this has been primarily prepared as a leadership pipeline for Christians, for Christian organizations, Christian churches, Christian businesses, Christian schools, but it applies to anybody. But there's a mindset that I have about the use of time and about our time here on this earth. And so that's just an underlying factor that guides everything that I do in life. Now, just some basics. Everyone has the same amount of time. We cannot say, sorry, I don't have enough time to do it. Well, you know, I've been intending to do that, but I just didn't have enough time. We all have the same amount of time. It's a matter of how we choose to use that time. If you're watching this video on your own, I want you to repeat after me. And if you're watching it in a group, I want you to turn to the person on the left and on the right and say, we all have the same amount of time. We all have the same amount of time, 365 days in the year, 7 days in a week, 168 hours in 1 week, and 24 hours in 1 day. We all have the same amount of time, and so let's just get this out of the way. We cannot say, I don't have enough time to do it. It's a matter of saying, I have chosen to use the block of my time in one way rather than another way. That is a huge foundational way of thinking, as far as I'm concerned anyway. So we all have the same amount of time. And so here's the question: how many hours per day do you sleep? And how many hours in the week do you work? And how many hours in the day do you play? Do you do things that are maybe not useful? I play with our computer, our smartphone, we watch TV, do something entertaining or on the internet. Nothing necessarily wrong with that. We need leisure time. That's part of time management. But many people, you know what? I would say most people waste their time. The time that we've given here, because I think about this all the time, because it's something that is important to me, and I meet with people, I'm training leaders, I'm making disciples, I'm helping people grow to the next level of who they can be in Christ, all that God has made for them to be, and I just find that most people just don't use the time wisely that they've been given. They don't plan. Most people do not actually plan. Most people don't organize their month, their week, or their day. They just let it happen. Let me stop right here and go back and try to make a clarification. I've been teaching through the book of Genesis, chapters 1 through 5 in my Leadership Institute. And one of the points that I make from day one is our God, the God of the universe, the creator of the universe, the Lord Jesus Christ, that He's organized. Do not think that our God is haphazard. Do not think that Jesus came to earth and lived for 33 and a half years and just lived haphazardly. That is not the case at all. Do not think that God created all of the systems and the organization that we have in this universe haphazardly. Not at all. He had a long-term plan. God has had one plan from Genesis to Revelation, and throughout the pages of the Bible history, He's been systematically working that plan, bringing it to a conclusion through different strategies and different people. But he's got a plan. He's got a long-term goal that he's been working toward, and he did in creation also. The first day prepared what was necessary for the fourth day, the second day for the fifth day, the third day for the sixth day. And so he was thinking ahead, and he was gathering his resources. This is what it's going to look like in the end. He had vision, and he had goals. In 6 days, and 7 days I'm going to rest. And he had a strategy on how he was going to do that. He was going to create the basic elements of the universe, and then he was going to use them and bring them together to create the different things that we see and that we don't see with our eyes. And so again, there are many Christians who seem to think that, hey man, don't put structure on me, don't put organization and planning on me, because I'm just being led by the Holy Spirit, and that's how God does it, that's how Jesus does it. My friend, I'm sorry to tell you, that is not it at all. Is that our God has a long-term plan, he has goals, and he has a strategy, and he adjusts the strategy. If you remember the 9 phases of completion project, God uses every one of those. And so people, they waste the time. Our time is our life. Our time is our life. People waste their life, however many years that they have on this earth. It flies by, believe me. They don't plan. They don't organize their month or their week or their day. They don't organize their work area so that it's messy. They're always losing things. They waste time having to look for something because they have not created an organization. They've not arranged their work area in an organized way. They don't prioritize. They just do random, whatever falls upon them. They do it without thinking, is this really a priority, something that I need to do? And they let other people rob their time. Take their time. They let other people take their time. They let other people take their life. And it robs them of all that God has for them. And so your time is your life. Don't waste it. Psalms 90 verse 10 says, our days may come to 70 years, or 80 if our strength continues, yet the best of them are trouble and sorrow, for they quickly pass and we fly away. Wow, that's what Moses said. They quickly pass and they fly away. Psalms 90 also, verse 12, teach us to number our days that we may gain a heart of wisdom. Number our days. Numbers has to do with setting goals. Goals are associated with numbers. That how many days, how long is it going to take me to do this? What do I want to accomplish within month number 1, month number 2, and before month number 12 is finished? So we must organize our life. We must organize our day and use our time wisely to accomplish our vision. Now, I'm hoping that in our previous lessons, I've helped you to think through what is the vision for your church, your organization, your business, your school. What is the vision for your children's ministry, your youth ministry, your human resources department, your financial vision? What do you see long-term in all areas of your work and ministry? What do you see long-term for your life? Then we have to take the steps to organize our life to be able to move toward, to accomplish those goals. You know what? So that we can, at the end of our life, we can say like the Apostle Paul in 2 Timothy chapter 4, I've fought the fight, I've finished the course, I've done, as far as I know, everything that God wants me to do. I can go home in peace. That's the kind of life that I want to live. So we have to organize our work, our relationships, plan, study, rest, our play, and we must find a balance between all of these in 168 hours per week. The next slide, you see a couple figures there, and there are 2 words for time in the Greek language that I'd like to focus on for a few minutes that I'm interested in. And but first, we have a term, and we say time flies. Time flies. What's the definition of time flies? What we mean is that time passes quickly. Actually, time does not fly. Actually, time does not change. It's consistent as far as us human beings are concerned. But what it means is that, man, your son is in school already. How time flies. It seems like he was just the other day, he was just born, just a toddler, and man, he's already in school now. It means that we think that we have a lot of time, but really, the time that we have seems to pass by quickly because we're not taking advantage of it. It means that we will never have this opportunity again. We will never have this moment in time again. This is such a dangerous way of thinking, is that, well, you know what, I'll get to it later. You know, my experience is that there's all kinds of things that happen in our life that rob our time, that mess up our schedule. And my feeling is that we really need to take advantage of the moment, because we will certainly not have that moment in time again, and we may not have that opportunity again. We must use it or lose it. Use the time, use the opportunity, or lose it. There's no gaining back. And so one of the words, the guy on the left in the slide, is chronos. Chronos is a length of time in which we live. It's days, months, and years. But the one that I'm interested in is the guy on the right, and his name is kairos. And kairos is a moment in time. It's an opportunity that we must take, or we will lose it and we won't have that opportunity again. And so he's got the long hair on the front, and that's to be able to catch the moment as it passes by. He has no hair in back, which means that once the time and the moment is gone, there's no hair, there's nothing to grasp onto. He has wings on his feet because he passes by quickly. And he's running because he's moving forward, he is not moving backward. And there's scales in his hands because we must choose, we must weigh if we want to take advantage of this moment in time or not. Let me read too a little story I have here about Kairos. A bronze statue of Kairos is known in literature, and it's made by a famous Greek sculptor, and it stood at his home in the agora of the Hellenistic Sicyon. The following epigram was carved onto the statue. So this is a statue in this guy's house, and this is what the carving that was on it. Who and whence was the sculpture? Replied, it was from Sicyon, and his name Lysipius. And who are you? I am Time, who subdues all things. Why do you stand on tiptoe? Because I am ever running. And why do you have a pair of wings on your feet? Because I fly with the wind. And why do you hold a razor in your right hand, or a scale, as a sign to man that I am sharper than any sharp edge? And why does your hair hang over your face? For him who meets me to take it by the forelock, to take me by the forelock. And why in heaven's name is the back of your head bald? Because none whom I have raced past on my winged feet will now, though he wishes it sorely, will ever take hold of me from behind. And why did the artist fashion you? For your sake, stranger, and he set me up on the porch as a lesson. And so when you see the sculpture, you see the picture of Kairos, it's to remind us that a moment in time is passing you every day, 168 hours in the week. The moment, the minutes, the hours are passing by, and we have to choose very wisely what we're doing with our time. In the next slide, you're going to see many roads, and that in our life there are many decisions that we make every day. One decision will take us down one road, and another decision will take us down another road. Wow. One decision, I'm going to do this, and it takes us down one way, and if we would have made a different decision, it would have taken it down another way. If we choose wrongly, at the very least, we waste many days, weeks, months, and years. How many people do we know that have chosen wrongly, and it's been years before they've been able to get back to where they were before, if they can get back to where they were before? We may waste our strength, we may waste our financial resources. It's important that we use our time wisely, because how we use our time is like choosing to walk down one path or another. We want to try to walk down the right path that will lead us to where we feel that God wants us to go in the amount of days, months, and years that He's given us on this earth. The next slide, you see a compass. And so our vision is our compass. Very important to understand. Vision is the foundation of everything. What do you see for your school? What do you see for your children? What do you see for your youth department? What do you see for your church? What do you see for your business? What do you see? Our vision is our compass. If we don't have a compass, we're going to live carelessly. That's what it says in the book of Proverbs. We studied that in our last couple lessons. So our vision is our compass, what we see for our long-range future, and our short-range future will determine what we do every day. And so this is, you'll hear me say this over and over again, is that if we don't have a long-term future, I'm just talking even a year or a couple years ahead, not even 10 or 20 years, then we're going to live carelessly. We're going to do this, do that, and we're not going to use the opportunities that God brings to us to move us forward to fulfill what He wants us to do for Him on this earth. And so what we see for a long-range future and a short-range future will determine what we do every day with our time. What do we do every day with our time? Do we read? Do we meet someone who will give us good advice? Do we do something that other people want us to do but is not a priority for us? Do we sleep? Do we read? Do we play? Do we rest? What do we do with our time every day? And so you go to work and you may have 8 hours of work, or you may have 10 hours of work. You may have more or less than that. What do you do with your time? From the time that you arrive at work until the time that you leave? What do you do with your time? That's why I say that vision is the foundation for everything, because we will evaluate what we do every day with what our vision is. And so here's another key for you. We can't do everything. I have so many things that I want to do in life. I have so many things. I use my phone to create task lists, and many of them don't get done. There are things that I want to do, but as I began to move forward in my day and my week and even in my year, I realized that, you know what, this is not really something that is directing me toward my long-term vision, my long-term goals. So let's start looking at 15 keys to manage your time. Key number one is goals. We've talked about that already. We have a vision, and then we create long-term goals, maybe 2 years, 3 years, or 5-year goals, but at the least annual goals. Maybe we should create a couple-year goals for our ministry, our business, what we want to see in the next couple years, next 5 years, but then we have to pare it down to this year, by December 31st of this year. So we establish some smart goals, goals that are specific, goals that are measurable, goals that are attainable, goals that are realistic, and goals that are time-oriented. It's very important. We'll talk about that later when we get to strategic planning, about the importance of making smart goals, not just generic goals, but smart goals. And so we need to establish goals, create long-term life goals. Number 2, create annual goals. And number 3 on your slide, choose what you will do and what you will reject based upon your long-term and annual goals. And so we have the vision and we have annual goals. I have annual goals, very clear annual goals for this year and even for the next year. A little bit vague for next year, but this year very clear. And so honestly, I evaluate what I'm going to do throughout the week, what people want me to do, and what I want to do based upon what my annual goals are. This is really important. And again, let me just say this, for our organization, for our church here in Cambodia, and for our organization in Cambodia, for many, many years, we've always do long-term planning, but we particularly focus on annual planning. And for us, usually around October, we start meeting with all of our departments. We have a form that we use, and all of our departments will start meeting. Children's ministry, youth ministry, music ministry, all the departments, our nonprofit, our international NGO nonprofit organization, our school, and the whole gamut of it, that we would all meet in our separate groups, and we would look at the year. And so we would establish, what do we want to see for this year? And so what kind of goals do we want to have for all these different departments? And we follow that process. We establish goals, and we establish strategies, we establish budget, we establish staffing, and then we look at training. And so some sample long-term goals for your family. I want my family to love God. That's a good goal. Quite generic, but that's a good goal. I want my family to serve in a ministry in the church. I want my family to have a close relationship with each other. I want my family to be generous. And so these are good long-term goals. You know what? Even as I'm reading these, the next step is to say, how? How am I going to do this? Sometimes it's not too difficult to set up goals like this, but we have to ask the next question. How? How am I going to do this? The next step is strategy. So what am I going to do this year to see this accomplished? And what I'm going to do in the next 6 months to see this accomplished? Other goals, simple long-term goals, a personal standard for living. I want to have enough to spend, and I want to have enough to save. I want to build a house or own my own house. I want to own my own car. I want to have enough money to give to my children and grandchildren by the end of my life. These are good long-term goals. The next question is, so how are we going to go about doing that? More sample long-term goals for work. I want to work at a job that I enjoy. I want to be a positive influence in my place of work. I want to start my own business. I want to retire at 50 years old and serve God full time. Great goals. The next question is, for each one of those 4 goals, what do I have to do this year to make it happen? And you're going to see you have to put it in your calendar. To make it happen, you have to put it in your calendar. Sample long-term goals for ministry. I want to teach the Bible to others. I want to go on many missions trips in my country. I want to go on a mission trip to another country. I want to join a team to plant a church. These are great long-term goals. But the question we ask, what must we do today, this week, this month, to fulfill our goals? If we don't plan our month, week, and days, and make sure that among all the different things that pass through our life on a weekly basis during those 168 hours, at least some of them will move us toward our long-term or medium or short-term goals, then we won't reach them. Now, let me say this again. So we can establish goals, and there's things that happen in our life every week. Things that happen in my life. You know, I got a flat tire, and you ever had one of those weeks? There's one car problem after another problem, or one fire to put out after another fire to put out. I'm thinking, I've got goals, man. I've got things to do, places to go, people to see, and all these things are coming that are disrupting my plan. Well, that's life, and so don't get too frustrated about it, because it will happen. But we have a compass, see? We have a compass. I know where I'm going, and I know what my priorities are, and I will do everything, deal with these little things that come my way, but I've always got in the back of my mind, and I've always got in my calendar, all right, I'm looking for the opportunity. I've got to do some things this week that will move me toward my long-term goals for my family, for my personal life, for my business, and for my ministry. And so we have to take control of our schedule. Okay, and we have to put things into our calendar, and we have to use our vision and our goals as our compass. Here's another statement for you. You can write this down. It's not in your book. Procrastination is the murderer of your destiny. Procrastination is the murderer of your destiny. Think about it. We have to deal with procrastination. I'll be honest with you, there's times that I procrastinate. There's things that I don't like to do. And so I just kind of put it off. We'll talk about that in a few minutes, what we can do about that. But I know this is true. Procrastination will kill my destiny. If I allow myself to keep putting things off, I will just tell you, we miss the opportunity. And we miss the destiny that God has for us. Let's move on to more keys to manage your time. Number 4 is plan. Plan your work for tomorrow, today. Now that's my advice. Plan your work. I really advise you, if you have regular working hours, 8 to 5 or something like that, don't wait until you get to your office, or don't wait until you get to your place of work to start planning that, well, what am I going to do today? Wow, for somebody who's moving forward into their destiny, that should not be the question that you ever ask. I wonder what I'm going to do today. You should already have that settled. And so I recommend that you plan your work for tomorrow. Don't wait until tomorrow to get to the office, to sit down, to get to your place of work and sit down and think it's too late. It's too late. You're going to have a cup of coffee. There's going to be people who come and talk with you. You're going to get distracted on something else that is not part of your goals, that is not a priority for you. And so I would say the day before, again, this is what my practice usually is, the night before, before I go to bed, I either use my phone or I have little 3x5 cards, and I'll just make a few notes. These are some things that I need to do tomorrow. Some of them I might do, some of them I might not be able to do. But at least I have a target. When I get up in the morning, there's that 3x5 card, or I check my phone again to remind me that these are some of the things that I hope I'm going to be able to do today. And so some of them, I put them right into my calendar. I block out the time. I blocked out this morning to be able to record some videos, because if I got a zillion things to do, this is a priority for me. And so I put it into my calendar, and I'm doing everything I can to try to protect that time. And there's other things that throughout the week, we'll talk about that. And so I really recommend that you plan your work for tomorrow, today. Just a general plan, not specific. Don't go to bed with work on your mind like I do sometimes and wake up in the middle of the night and remember all the things I do. Don't do like that. I'm not a good example in that area. Number 5, discover what time of the day you have more energy and adjust your work schedule according to your energy level. You know, we have different times of the day. Some people are morning people, some people are night people, afternoon people, things like that. Discover your metabolism, discover who you are and when you work best, and schedule your most productive time for those hours. Now, for me, I'm a morning person. I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. It is generally no problem for me. I like to exercise, and I like to have a leisurely cup of coffee, spend time with the Lord, but my most productive time is in the morning. In the afternoon, I'm tired and my mind seems to slow down. And so for me, I put my creative time in the mornings, and I put my priority things in the morning, and then the afternoon, often I'll have appointments. I meet with people, I'm talking with people, and so I'm doing things that I'm moving around. So that's just my own personal schedule, but discover what kind of person that you are. And so be careful, number 6, complete small tasks and tasks that you don't like first. Now again, I'm just giving you my advice. You're going to search the internet and go to time management courses that are much more professional than I am in this. I'm just a guy like you. I've got an edge on some things. I've got some success in things. I figured out a system that works for me by bringing this, that, and the other together, and that's what I hope that you will do too. But my recommendation, when I've got a list of things to do, sometimes some of the little things are like mosquitoes or gnats. They're just kind of flying around. They're bothering me. They're on my mind. They're touching my emotions. And so some of these things, I like to just knock them out first. Boom, boom, boom. They don't take very much time. I make sure that I focus on them, make sure that I don't get too distracted. But boom, boom, boom. I knock these small things out first. And that, for me, it frees up my mind and it frees up my emotions. And so I can focus on more important things. Or sometimes there's the task that we don't like. I don't want to do it. And so, again, for me, my personality, that is just kind of a nagging burden on me. I don't want to do it, but I know it's important that I do. And so, again, to try to overcome procrastination, do it. Just do that hard thing. Just do the right thing, and put your nose to the grindstone and get that difficult thing out of the way. Now, the important thing is stay focused on it. Here's another thing, again, depending on what your work is, but if your work is involved in the office, I did read someplace that, and it is true, that you work for a certain amount of time, 60 minutes, or at the very most 90 minutes, and you need to get up and move around, get a drink of water, and do something. And because at a certain point between 60 and 90 minutes, you start becoming less and less effective. And so give yourself, sometimes you give myself just a certain amount of time. All right, I've got 60 minutes. I'm going to work on this for 60 minutes, or I'm going to work on it for 30 minutes or 45 minutes, and I'm going to watch the time at 45 minutes, close the book, close the computer, whatever I'm doing, and move on to the next thing. And so these are just a couple simple strategies that plan your work for tomorrow, today, discover what time of the day you have more energy, and adjust your work schedule according to your energy level, and complete the small task or the task that you don't like first. Let's take a look at some of the questions here. And so I want you, if you're by yourself, please do this. This is a critical part of the course. Not just listening to me talk for 30 minutes, but a critical part of the course are these questions, because this is helping you, I hope, to apply it to your life. And so if you're by yourself, ask these questions and take some time to consider it. And remember, write it down. Don't just think it, write it down. It's got to go from your brain to your hand, and then it goes to your heart and comes out in your actions. And so what is one takeaway from this lesson, right? One thing in these 30 minutes or so that we spent together, what is one thing that you've got out of it, that you feel like this is a takeaway, this was helpful to me? And secondly, then if you're in a group, then you take the time, you can turn the video off and the questions will be on the screen, and you discuss it among yourselves. 3 or 4 of you that are sitting in a group, you share with one another, okay, this is one thing that I got out of it. Number 2 question, what is your biggest challenge regarding time management? You personally, what is your biggest challenge? Is it somebody else controlling your time, or is it procrastination, or not being organized? And question number 3, what are you going to do this week to apply this lesson? Write it, discuss it with one another, write it down, and you might even ask one of your friends to hold yourself, somebody in your group or one of your workmates to hold you accountable for us. So again, this is Charles McCall, Mentoring Growing Leaders. We've just finished lesson number 7, and we're going to be going into part 2 of Managing Your Time, lesson number 8.